Oh,
Going
let's
to
have
the
some
gym
fun.
after this.
That a
Oh, that a
boy.
boy. Got to get like EMAC. I just got my squats in trying to catch this man up. All right, here we go.
You ain't
3.
catching him.
No. What's going on, everyone? It is the Mac and Murray College Football Show. We got a special guest for this one. Jimbo Fisher joined us to talk some football. We got another major week of college football. We'll hit on some of the big-time games, talk the quarterback position because he's one of the best when it comes to understanding and developing that position. And then obviously the craziness when it comes to the coaching carousel right now. Why are all these coaches getting fired and what goes into the negotiation to get some of these big-time buyouts? We're going to go to the man who knows all about that. Coach, we appreciate you taking some time to sit down and chat with us.
Great to be with you in these crazy times.
It is crazy. It is crazy, Coach. And I think that's some of the just bizarre things of this season. Obviously, we'll jump into a lot of these different things, but my biggest thing that I want to hear from you that, you and I have touched on before throughout this year is, why is there no dominant team? It feels like this year in particular, the playing field's even, there's level talent. I don't know what it is, but it just feels like there is no body you're afraid of at the end of the track.
Well, I think, I think there's three or four teams. There's 3 teams I think are playing elite football right now, and I think there's 2 or 3 others that are creeping their way into it. But again, you can't stockpile players anymore. Guys aren't waiting. You're not waiting your chance to play. You're not waiting 2 years, and they're becoming spread out. And the interesting thing is where they're becoming spread out too. It's amazing that the places that have never been in the power structure of college football that is getting involved in this thing. And guys are looking for opportunity. They're looking for the right fit. And I think it's really made it a very balanced look. And like you say, too, the other thing that's interesting in this year's set, and why one of the reasons, the other thing is position-wise, I don't see the number of defensive game records that I normally see across the country. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I think everything's offense. And you know this, offense can be up. There's times you play quarterback, Aaron. There's some days you're just an inch high. You know what I mean? On a throw. You make the right read. Then, like I say, I always equate it to putting. Why can a pro golfer go shoot 64 one day and on the same course shoot 74 the next? You know what I'm saying? Same course, same holes, same everything. Some days those putts don't go in. It's like a basketball guy. Sometimes those ball, it ricochets in the hole and goes out. You know what I mean? And if you can't drive to the basket and shoot layups and get foul shots, you don't score that day. Even Steph Curry has off days. And quarterbacks are just a tad off. When you're dealing with offense, skill can be a hair off. Defense travels. And I don't see the number. I mean, there's some great defensive players, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to do that. But I mean, the number of guys that say, that guy's going to go get 2 sacks today. That guy, he's going to make 15 tackles at linebacker. There's a safety who's getting a pick. Now Downs is pretty close to that at Ohio State. I mean, he's one of those guys. But I don't see the number of defensive game records that I see across the country. And I think that's one of the reasons, too.
Is it a little bit because of the way offenses have, I would say, developed a little bit? A lot of the RPOs, the spread, the up tempo, the ball's out of the quarterback's hands. It's kind of like basketball on grass. Like, is that the hope was like defenses would catch up? Are they still behind trying to figure out how to slow down all the options these quarterbacks? Because it's a numbers game. It's like, hey, heavy box, quick game, light box, we hand it off. Like, it feels like the offense is always a step ahead. Is it that case or is it a personnel case for the reason why these
I think
offenses
on the good teams. I still think the good teams play great. I mean, you look at Ohio State's numbers on defense, they're crazy. You know what I mean? Now, we don't see Georgia having the numbers they usually have on defense and a thing, but I think the rules itself dictate to that. See, even as an offensive guy, what's going on in the RPO game, and you'll know this, it's unfair. When a lineman could be 3 yards down the field and the safety's triggering to come play a run play, and he's getting thrown behind, or here comes a lineman out on him, and he's got a hold on an RPO and let the back have a 5-yard run at him before he can come downhill because of an RPO. How that's evolved and how we've let that get out of hand, I think is an issue too. I think the rules have really set to the offenses. But I do think this, as you watch offense, where I think people get in trouble, not many guys can pass protect. Not many organizations pass protect well because every pass is an RPO. So they're just run blocking. And when they get to third down, they can't do it. But at the same time, I do think the rules have changed, but the good teams still play good defense. And if you look at the top teams that are up there, and I think it goes up and down. But if you look at the draft, I don't see the defensive end, the defensive tackle that usually dictates the top 5 picks of the draft, as they're all offensive players.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a fascinating thing. And, kind of talking about personnel, and you bring up quarterbacks there, Coach. I have reflected back many a times on our preseason, top quarterback lists, others. And man, it's not that, I mean, we were wrong in a sense, but these guys just did not materialize into what a lot of us thought they would. Why is that, in your opinion? Like, how were so many people so wrong of who the best quarterbacks would be in the entire country this year?
Well, I think sometimes we tend to assume guys are going to keep climbing, but they've already hit a ceiling. I think we put some expectations on some guys that really didn't have that kind of talent. I think they played really well. I mean, there's 2 kinds of quarterbacks. There's guys that just are so raw and just so talented. They do everything, but maybe they don't always make good decisions. Then you got that group, that are great decision makers, but their talent isn't really spectacular. And that's the ones you got to get careful on. Those guys that really play the game well. There's so much put on them, and they're playing it. They're maxing out what they can do, but they can't go carry every play. And I think what's happened too, if you look, the other part of it, nobody's running the football, and they're forcing these quarterbacks to make every daggone play. And sometimes, Aaron, hey, let me just run a power play here. Can somebody go make 6 yards, and can I just have a break for about 30 seconds? When you're making you think about this, everything now is an RPO. Well, first 70 plays, that's 70 decisions. I think it grinds them in the ground. I think mentally, the more decisions you make, eventually you're going to make mistakes. And people keep putting bigger and bigger lumps of food on their plate that they can't handle. You know what I mean? I think we got to moderate that a little bit. And the teams like, for instance, Mendoza's playing great, and he'll RPO, okay? But they line up and run the ball.
Right.
Saying at Ohio State, his number. Now, how this guy is not, we're talking about these guys for Heisman, how this guy's throwing 80%.
Oh, he's killing it.
He's throwing for 80% and his touchdown quarterback. How he's not he's getting up there, but this guy probably should be the leader if you really get technical about it from a statistical standpoint. But they turn around and run the football. They run the sweep. They run the toss sweeps. They run. He's not having to make every play, and I think it's easier to make less decisions, and you get the decisions based off the situation you want. In other words, you're in control when it's 2nd and 5 and a hard play action, 1st and 10. And I think we put too much on some guys that I think talent-wise were good players, but not great players, in my opinion.
No, I listen. There's nothing better than just hand the ball to Todd Gurley and just watching him do something.
Yeah.
No 2 plays, no RPO, just a called and run it. Like we just never get called and run it anymore. Where it's like, hey man, just give the ball to the running back. Like you said, it's some sort of option. Quarterback might pull it, he may throw it, and it's just like, man, just those dudes got a scholarship. Let's see what they can do with the football. How much is that the coaches feeling pressure where they have to be perfect in play calling? Because the one thing about the RPO is you do have an option. You feel like you are one step ahead of the defense because you give your quarterback those options. Is it an OC feeling that pressure to put more of those type of plays in a game plan?
I think we're all trendy. The world's trendy. Certain shoes sell, everybody goes and buys them. Certain shirt sells, everybody goes and buys them. We want to do what's trendy, and we don't feel like we're left behind. But as I watch the game, the funny thing, I think the game has been dumbed down so much, it's crazy. Really playing quarterback, and that's what I think Brady and some of those guys have made references to when they get to the NFL. They got to look to the sideline for a check. These guys they don't know what's going to happen before it. Like when you understand what quarters is, and here's the look, and here's the blitz, it's like a chess piece. You know what's fixing to happen before it happens. And that's when it's fun to play quarterback, because I know exactly where I'm going. And that's the NFL game. And I think these guys have dumbed it down so much. That's the other part of that, Eric, on the consistency at quarterback, is I think we've dumbed it down so much that when that one thing doesn't happen like it's coached to happen, what do I do?
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's not, we used to teach it a different way. You went through a progression reading, quarters, you read this side, 3 deep, you read this side, man, you had your man beater. You know what I mean? And those things aren't being taught at the level they used to be taught at because of the RPO game. And I think everybody's getting so happy. And when these quarterbacks, okay, I'll read that guy, I throw it there or there. All right, when that doesn't happen, what do I do? Now they changed coverage. They went to 2 deep. I thought they was going to be single high, and I was going to read the flat player. You know what I mean? I think that's part of what happens too. But I think everybody has tried to get every call perfect. But if you go back and look at who's winning the championship, it's the teams that can run the football and then
Right.
can play action off of it. But then on third down, they have a package that I can go get first downs on 3rd and 7, 3rd and 3, and whatever it is. So everything's in cycles, man. It all
Yeah.
rolls in cycles and goes in circles.
Hey,
Well,
Coach,
and
I
so
want to
you
hit something real quick. Sorry, Emac,
Yeah.
I want to understand this real quick. Is there an offense as you study the game right now? And we talk about it's a copycat league. This NFL, so everyone copycat. But is there an offense or a couple offenses that you just sit back and say, I like what they're doing. If I got back into coaching, there's just some stuff that I implement, or just overall, like which teams and offenses do you enjoy watching every Saturday?
I still say I think there is a combination of things, and as you set and evolve in the game, I think Ohio State's doing a really nice job. I think what they're doing there, especially they got the wideouts, they got the best wideouts in the country. Them and Alabama probably do. You know what I'm saying? I think they've done a great job of restraining themselves from throwing it 50 times a game.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That when I do throw it, because we've ran it, Mr. Smith is running an over route with nobody under him, and they're going for huge chunks. I think Ty Simpson's playing at such a high level right now after that first game. And the way they play action, the way they still run the football, the way they mix it in, and their backs have been hurt. You know what I mean? I still think they're doing a really nice job of mixing formation, mixing motion. And I tell you the other thing these guys do, and Miami was doing a good job, and I still think they're doing a good job. And you know this, the thing, everybody wanting to spread the field so far. Well, I think the condensed sets, Miami does a great job of those condensed sets, which I think can really help you run the ball because when you condense, people are either going to play inside of you so you can outflank them to the edges on seal plays and kick plays, or they widen out a little bit to be outside you to not be leveraged. Well, now you can now run your inside, and your receivers are in position to get to your safeties and dig them out like you always want them to. But then your play actions, see, people understand when you're in a condensed set, Aaron, when you run your hard play actions, now you're not running it on the corners. You're because you got leverage on the corner because he's generally outside you. I'm running it on the safety who's not a good cover guy. He's in a run pass conflict, and those reads for the quarterback happen quicker, in my opinion, because they're not having to use the width of the field to affect him. They're on top of him right now on those posts and overs and things, and it's allowing the ball to come out of the quarterback's hand, which allows you to protect quicker and lets him get a quicker read. I think Miami does that. I think Alabama does a real good job of that. Ohio State does. Georgia, I think everybody gets on Bobo, but Bobo does a good job of that at times. They condense it down and stay and give the quarterback options and don't restrain him and how they're calling it. They're calling it. You say it's old fashioned, but to me, it's got answers. Those are when you teach the quarterback all the answers to the test, then let him make decisions on the field like you played. And guys in our era, that when we were coaching and the way they played, I think those guys, just off the top of my head, from Oregon, those guys do a good job, but some of those guys get so it's more in that, I don't know what with the over. I mean, the quick. I don't know what the name of that offense is. They call it. There's some.
Air raid
What's the guy?
stuff.
What they call it? What Leach used to call it? His offense.
Air raid.
And the air raid, which is really good, but that thing has never won a championship.
Right.
No.
Very rare. I mean, you know what I'm saying? And it gets. It's not gimmicky is the word I say, but I mean, you got a quick screen and do those things, them extended runs, but they live on them so much.
Correct.
I think it gets them in trouble later on. I thought Penn State got into that a little bit last year.
Right.
I mean, everything had to be, you know what I'm saying? Still some good base footballs, condensed sets, and you can spread it wide and mix it up are better. But I think, those ones I just mentioned, I think do a really good job. And I think that's one of the reasons our quarterbacks are playing at a high level because they have answers to what's called. When it's not there, they can check it down. There's a guy in the flat. There's a drag route coming, and then let those guys play.
Yeah, and I think Georgia Tech as well. They like to do that as well. I mean, it's
different.
Showing different.
They're triple option. They're Oklahoma wishbone in a different way.
That's right. Which you're trying to present a challenge and get eye violations and give them something different. Look wise with the bunch set that some people will do, that tight bunch there. To go a little bit back, I'm sorry, that was amazing to just hear you talking about that. I do want to go back to when you were talking about how you would teach your quarterbacks, how Aaron was taught. And you said it was a fad. You said it's a cycle. Are we just lazy? Are kids not smart enough? Like, why?
Well, I think the no huddle progressed into this, Eric, because I think the faster you go, the simpler you got. You can't do a lot when you're going that fast.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like you can't adjust motion. You can't. It's hard to slide protection Because if you say, okay, then I'm going to slide protect, well, then you're slowing it down. No, hurry up. I want to play ran every 18
Right.
seconds. I want to play ran, which is a great philosophy. I mean, those guys wear you out. I mean, there's a method to that madness too.
Mhm.
But when you're going so fast and in this hurry up, you're making it so simple. It's one,
Yeah.
two. There's not a lot of checks at the line of scrimmage on blitzes where the protection's coming from, sliding. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think we went so fast that, like we say, all right, here's 3 deep. Here's the holes in 3 deep. I mean, here's how you're going to attack it. Here's how our plays fit. Here's quarters. Here's two. Here's 2-man. Here's quarter halves. Here, and then you get into all your junk coverages on third down and when they're bracketing you and all that stuff. And you teach the guy just like it's a math formula. Here's the formula. Here's the problem. Plug it in. And you
Right.
get the right answer every time. But that takes time. That's development. And I'm not waiting for a year. If I'm not playing as a
Well, you may
freshman, I'm
not get a
transferring.
year because
Now
these
I'm
guys
in,
may
now I'm in
leave.
a new offense. Now I'm,
Yeah.
and that's what hurts guys in the NFL. I truly
No
believe that
question.
because their knowledge, they're trying to take calculus in the NFL and they ain't finished algebra 1.
Correct.
They're still getting to
Correct.
algebra 2
Yeah.
and the game eats them up. That's what you're seeing. That I mean, I think that's what I'm not saying that's what happened to Caleb, but some of those guys that are struggling, May stayed a long time in the league. I mean,
Yeah.
in college, right? Drake
Yeah.
May did, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. Didn't he play a
Yeah.
long time in college football?
Yeah. Well, he had good teachers too. I mean, they
Yeah,
taught him.
and look at that guy right now is playing in the top 5 quarterbacks in the
Yeah.
NFL right now
True.
Yeah.
because he can processing information. Quarterbacking gets down to 2 things at the end of the day. You can say it all you want. You got to have toughness, leadership, all that, and they take the personality of your team. But if you got to process the game and you got to be accurate where you throw it.
Right.
At the end of the day, if you can't process, and I'm even saying even run decisions, like that's why I think Miller Moss was so excited the other day, Eric, when he said it was 3rd and 10, and I checked that run. Yeah, that's processing the game.
Yeah.
Processing, everybody thinks it's throwing it and making decisions. Sometimes if I get the look up front and I check in the right run play, and we gash him on 3rd down.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They know. In other words, here's the weakness of the defense. I'm attacking it. You know what I'm saying? Just like a coach is, and you teach your players to think like you do. They're an extension of you as a coach, and they get to the field, and you give them the parameters of what you're trying to set, and you allow them to check into it. But at the end of the day, like I say, you got to process information. I don't care how good your arm is. I don't care
Right.
what camp looks like. Can I hit what the heck I'm throwing at?
Right.
And
Right.
is it a catchable ball? Does
So
it have
what's the
touch on it?
balance?
Does it have?
Like, if you get back in this thing, what's the balance of, okay, I might not have this guy for a year. I want to go fast, but I also want to teach him. Like, what's the perfect thing for Jimbo
I
Fisher?
think
He was teaching.
eventually what you have to do in your passing game, we used to have what we call blind calls.
Mhm.
We had 10 or 12 pass plays that had answers to every coverage you could come up with. And you teach that base 10 or 12 things. You know what I mean? Those 10 or 12, then you evolve to the how they defend it, you add to it. You know what I mean? And it gets quarter halves. Here's a side of the field out. It's really good. I can work the backside if I want, but this is the best side. It's man to man. It's one rat. It's cover 2. Here's the answers to the test and where we're going, and a base check. I think you start there. That attacks everything. I call them blinds because sometimes on defense, like I say, that guy's on scholarship too, and that coach is pretty good on the other side.
Right. Right.
You don't match every call to be perfect, and it takes pressure off the quarterback in that I don't have to check to it. I can just process it and read it. And if I do these 12 plays, I can do them in my sleep.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And in the run game, I always think you got to package one side or the other. I see so many guys that hurry up in the run game, they run into unfair looks.
Right. Exactly.
There's a 2-man surface on one side. What I mean by that, it's a guard and a tackle, and they're running into a full. You can block 3 people, center, guard, and tackle, unless you have a back, which we call Bob or Buck, or to be able to block 3 or 4. We have
Bob,
tags to that.
baby. Oh, I love Horn 48
Bob,
Bob.
Buck,
Let's
Boss.
go.
We had all kind of tags.
Oh, yeah.
That what that was okay. I can block 3 on Bob.
Yep.
I can block 4 on Buck. I can block 4. I mean, I'm a double puller and I can block the 4th guy, and that told our quarterback the fair look. But quit running unfair play. Be able to check either or, even if you mirror the play.
Yes.
Don't run into unfair looks and dead plays. And
I mean,
now
that's all we
sometimes
did.
the hurry up gets you to do that, but
Yeah.
I see that happening so much. And those good teams, remember this: if you can go fast on offense, you can go fast on defense. And that's where
Right.
I think the defenses have caught up a little bit on the no huddle part. Is a lot of them have auto blitzes. When they hurry up, and they hit that formation, we auto blitz this, we auto blitz that. So I think just being able to teach base things, because as you watch it, you may not keep guys for a long period of time.
Right.
Well, I think
You know what I mean?
it's his willingness to put more in the quarterback. Like one offense you mentioned, Coach, that I absolutely love watching is Miami. I think Miami reminds me a lot of like an NFL team. The way that Carson has so much ability at the line of scrimmage to do what he needs to do. They don't run up tempo. They don't need to. They just play football. They don't try to trick you. They just say, "Hey, we're going to line up and play football and put our quarterback in a situation for him to put us in the best play." And I absolutely love what they're doing. I want to transition a little bit to, and this will take us to the discussions about the coaches and what's going on in that area. But the game has changed so much off the field, and we're seeing a balancing out. You talked about it earlier, balancing out of talent across the country, and it's made it for a really, really exciting season. I honestly believe that. But where are we overall for college football? Are we in a good spot? Obviously, there's things that need to be corrected. Are we in a good spot, great spot, bad spot, and kind of where are some areas that need to get fixed for coaches and players alike?
I think in the short term right now, it's a fun time because you're seeing Indiana and you're seeing all these different teams get involved. Vanderbilt's in the top 10. You're seeing teams evolve, which is fun. But I'm going to tell you, in my opinion, I gave a talk about this the other day. I think we're in a very scary spot if we're not careful. And here's what I mean. We're trying to make this an elitist sport.
Yes.
The top 30, 40 teams in the country, whatever that number is. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that group, there's 32 in the Big Ten, the SEC. They're playing with unfair rules. They're getting $40 million more per program than the other schools are getting because of TV and all that stuff. And what scares me about that is, all right, say we're going to take our ball and go home. Okay, we're going to take our ball and go home, and we're going to play. Now your Florida States of the world, your Miamis of the world, your Clemsons of the world. Those teams that have, and I think they're going to stay in there because of great history. Like I said, that's 11 national championships since 1981. That's one of every 4 years. One of those three schools has won a championship,
Right.
and they're making $40 million less than all these other teams. You know what I mean? Which is not fair. I mean, it's not the right thing. But here's my point about this. If we say that, you're going to get a lot of teams, in my opinion. I'm not going to name names. These other programs, well, we can't win a championship. This is costing us X amount of dollars, and football is by far the most expensive sport. And your fans aren't coming because we're not playing for. You know what they're going to say? Why are we doing this? Why don't we just drop football?
Yeah.
Let's invest all of our money in NIL and basketball and go become a basketball power. And I got 12 guys to pay for instead of 100.
Right.
And what happens is now, and here's the other thing, then where do your FCS teams, your 1AA teams, where do they get their money? Because
Yeah.
you're not playing them anymore.
Correct.
All right, well, that money doesn't trickle. All right, how does Division II get going? How does Division III? And my point about this, and why is that so important? Well, here it is. To have Major League Baseball, what do you got to have? Minor League Baseball.
Yeah.
And there's 25 guys on a minor league team. 23 or 24 of those guys aren't ever moving up. They're all playing so they can develop those one or two guys to move up. They're all, I mean, that's what baseball, minor league baseball is. There's one or two guys, big prospects on the team, and they play single A, double A, rookie league, all that to try to get better and move up. And the rest of you guys, occasionally guys move up like that. Don't get me wrong, it happens, but very rarely does that matter. But well, here's my point. You know who those guys become? All your coaches, all your people in the high school coach. And so my point is this: if these teams all start dropping football, and that money doesn't trickle down to those lower levels of football, okay, what's a high school kid going to say? Why am I playing high school football? Because, at Division II, even I played Division II, I got my school paid for. I got a scholarship. 1AA, I got my scholarship. And if I'm not even in the Power 4 conference, I still got my scholarship. You know what I mean? And I got an education. I went into what I'm doing. Well, if I'm in high school and all these programs start dropping football, I'm talking about 15, 20, 25 years from now. You know what I'm saying? As this thing goes down the road, then all of a sudden, well, I'm going to go play soccer. I'm going to go play lacrosse. I'm going to go play a sport I can get a scholarship in. And then all of a sudden, where's all your great players going to come from that are going to the Division I schools? High school football is going to suffer.
Right.
And here's the other thing. Where's all your coaches coming? Where'd Bobby Bowden go to school?
Yeah.
Sanford University. Where'd Joe Paterno go? Brown. Where'd Dabo? Dabo was a walk-on, so there's no more walk-ons. I went to Sanford. Nick Saban went to Kent State. Nick Saban went to Kent State. Dan Lanning was a small-time guy.
Yeah.
I'm just naming, because what do all the great players in Division I do? Most of them go play in the NFL. They ain't dumb like us and get into coaching. They go make their money and want to put all those hours in. And where do your coaches learn to coach? You know what I mean? That you pull guys up like you're doing now for all these jobs. I mean, we got to be careful not to destroy the golden goose that just because we want to be elite and have this elite league and pay all this money to these guys, if you don't trickle that money down, these programs can't survive. And and like I said, the other day, when I was watching, when I was a kid, baseball by far was the best sport. I mean, the biggest sport in America. It was the football was good and basketball, but baseball was America's sport. You guys don't remember, you're too young. I understand that. But I mean, the other day, I couldn't even find the American League Championship Series Game 7 on TV.
Crazy.
which you could have never told me that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Things evolve and rotate. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's great for now because you get all these teams are spreading the players out. We just got to spread more of the money out. We can't forget the old. Right now it's a Big 12 and the ACC. These leagues have to get their share in this, and I think nationally in Congress we got to do something to make some parity across the board
Yes.
in what we're trying to do with the TV contracts. That's
I
because if
agree.
not, I'm afraid we're going to separate. And these guys say, I'll just go quit and go put all my money in
It already
basketball.
feels separated right now. I mean, it
Right.
feels
No
like
doubt. But they're
it feels
still
like
playing.
maybe a
I
handful.
think some will drop it, Aaron. I'm scared some of these
Right.
guys are going to drop it.
I don't
I
think you're
agree.
wrong with that. And I
No.
think, you and I, Coach, have talked about this so many times, but as it is right now, everyone is looking for themselves. The SEC is looking
Yeah.
for what's best for the SEC. There is no collective.
There's no one guy.
No.
Sankey does. Every commissioner's got his conference, which is what they're supposed to do. Every coach does his team. Who has college football or college athletics best? Name me one person
Yeah,
that
nobody.
has that in place. So
Nobody.
you can't name, like in the NFL, you got Roger Goodell. He's a commissioner. You can't name that person in college athletics, not just football, but
Correct.
college athletics. It's everybody's conference has its power. And that's
Yeah.
what those, and listen, I don't blame those guys. That's
Sure.
their job description. That's where they get paid.
Right.
But somebody's got to step in and do something to create some parity for everything, the best of college athletics. All right, we're still paying them money. We're letting them do all that, but we got to get some parity, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree, because we'll lose it, like you said, and the baseball example is a great example of how quickly it can happen. I mean, you're talking about a generation that is a light years difference, and that's terrifying to really think about. This is a good transition to talk about these coaches and the just crazy. This is more, again, we're younger guys. Coach, correct us if we're wrong. This feels like the most highest profile guys getting let go mid-season than ever before. Why? What's the benefit? What's the point? And, do you see that changing in the near future?
Right now, no, I really don't. I think because it's everybody. All right, now you're putting outside sources in. You always had boosters. They paid for, they paid for facilities. Now some of them used to pay for players, but they publicly couldn't say it. They publicly couldn't say it like that. I mean, but not to the extent you're doing now, not to the sums of money. And I always say, when you bring money, and the more money you bring into it, the more volatility you bring in. Whatever it is, listen, money creates power. Money's about who has power has money, and money and power go together. When you start bringing those folks into your decision making on a daily basis, they don't have patience. And they also forget that when they made their businesses, not every business day did they make money. They lost money.
That's
And some of their companies, sometimes, if you think you hear some of the great stories of these rich guys in these companies. We were almost broke. We had almost went to bankruptcy. We made this change. Well, that probably happened over a 2-year period. If you was a coach, you'd been fired. You wouldn't have had a chance to do that. All these guys that make money, they forget that. If somebody's sitting there in their board meeting every day and looked over their shoulder, they wouldn't like it. But that's the world we're in. And the more you get those folks in here and all the outside money and the outside power because you have to, here's what's happening with NIL. You have to keep going back to the same well over and over for more money. And so this guy said, wait a minute, if I'm giving all this money, I want them to say so.
Yeah.
And you got guys talking into a business that they kind of understand, but they don't really understand and how it goes. And then the AD then the AD's hearing it. Then the president's hearing it. And listen, the ADs can take a little bit of pressure. The presidents can't take any pressure.
Correct.
They hate, because they're most of, what is the president's world in? Academia.
Yeah.
And when they're having to spend 90% of their time dealing with this football issue or basketball or whatever it may be, I don't want to hear it. So let's just go get rid of that guy, go make this guy happy, get him off my back. You know what I mean? And I think that's a lot of what's happening, because this is new to them too. And now you get all these powers to be with all this money. If I'm going to put all this money in there every year, I want to say so. And in my opinion, that's what's happening.
Because I always feel like you can't just keep going back, like you said, the well over and over again, going back to these boosters. I mean, it's still wild to me that you can afford, in a time when it feels like all these coaches, and not coaches, but administration, presidents, ADs are penny pinching, where you can go to a booster or a group of boosters and say, hey, I need $54 million to pay for the buyout for X coach, Brian Kelly, but I'm also going to need to go to those same boosters to figure out a way to get NIL funds for our players. I know that's kind of the rules of, not allowed them to directly pay, but there are avenues in which they can still pay them. how can you be penny pinching and afford to do that and go back to the same people and over and again? Like, are there people that literally just have millions upon millions upon millions that you can literally call on every single year to bail you out?
Yes, there are, but some guys
Uh-huh.
eventually, even them guys get tired of it because it's like a
Yeah,
bad investment. Why am I, they
yeah,
don't keep making. They got all that money because they didn't make bad investments. You know what
yeah.
I mean? What's my return? And I think that's why you're starting to see they're trying to into the equity firms and people buying all to these and into teams and into conferences. It wasn't a Big Ten. Was it the Big Ten that had that set up
Yeah.
to Wall
Mhm.
Street? And we're trying to do that. And these teams are because they're trying to create different revenue sources and forms of revenue to take the pressure off of that to be able to do it. But then you start getting into that world. Now you're getting into another bag of tricks that can get involved in.
Mhm.
We're crossing over amateurism, so-called amateurism, but we're turning into
Yeah.
professionalism into a world of money that nobody really has any experience on. And
Mm-mm.
there's not a blueprint. And no, here's the thing: no one's ever done it.
No.
No one's ever done it. They're flying by the seat of their pants in everything they do, and I think, and there's no patience right now because that's why
Well,
you're
I
saying,
think they
well,
don't know how to run it like a business. I think they have to run the football program or athletic program like a business, and they don't know how to run it like a business.
Well, because you don't know where the revenue like in a business though, you know where your revenue source is coming from.
Yeah.
You know where I'm making money. You know what I mean? And the money, it differs. That guy, this guy, different guy I go to. Well, what can I do to take some pressure off of those guys? Because there's only their well's going to dry up one day,
Yeah.
and they're going to get tired of it. And well, how can I
Mhm.
spread it out? That's what they're trying to do: create different revenue sources, like a business does. Where else am I going to get money? You either got to, because if you keep getting money and you're growing and you can't get any more money, you got to cut back.
Yeah.
And people don't want to cut back, and that's what you're going into the haves and have-nots. That's my point about some of these guys just saying, "The heck with this, I'm not doing it anymore." You know what I
Right.
mean? And dropping football, and it'd be easier to deal with basketball with 12 guys than it is with 100 of football guys or whatever sport, women's sports. My time today, if I had a daughter, my God, I'm scared to death about with the revenue for her
Right.
sports.
I know.
I mean, not that she's making money, but just the money to have them to perform and be able to go through college, you know what I mean, and get a scholarship. So I
Mhm.
think that's where I think Congress, we have to do it through Washington, D.C. So God help us.
That's a fact.
We're in a government shutdown right now. Let alone,
No,
we ain't
exactly.
Could
even
you
talking to each
imagine
other.
a government shutdown, no college football being played? My
Yeah,
God,
I mean,
anarchy.
but we've got to get, because here's the issue with everything, guys. All these rules from NIL to transfer portal, why the NCAA give it? And everybody's blaming the NCAA. Now, they could have evolved in time, I think. If they would have gradually evolved, I think it would have made this a less tenuous time and
Mhm.
people would have absorbed this better. But in their defense, here's what happens. Every time they go to court, they get their butt kicked.
Yeah.
Yes.
They can't win in court. None of their
Mhm.
laws or rules set up. The only person can do that is Washington, D.C. And they have to make some laws and rules that say when we go to court, we've said this is not going to happen. We're keeping it like this. And until we do that, it's going to continue to be wild, wild west. And I hate to say that. In my mind, what I'm seeing, my limited, again, I don't know how the government works to it. I mean, I have a general idea and things, but not to the extent. I'm not a lawyer or anything, but because I had a lawyer tell me one time, the NIL and the transfer portal was one of the most intriguing cases I've ever dealt with because I went down 50 roads and every one of them's got a rabbit hole at the end.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? In other words, there's a loophole that law doesn't stand up. You get it going for I win that, I win that. No, nope, doesn't hold up here until it goes back to here. And until government sets that up, we're not going to have nothing's going to be stable. And when things aren't stable, it just becomes the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, and that's just the
Yeah.
way it is.
Yeah, it is bizarre. And you look at these, programs just to kind of stay on these coaches here for a second
Hmm.
and who's been fired. And you look at you know, LSU, my goodness. You look at Florida, you look at Penn State, maybe Auburn, who knows, maybe Florida State, who knows, these big marquee,
Yep,
kind of situations and programs here. And I look at Brian Kelly, he won 10 games twice, 9 games, and a Heisman Trophy winner. I mean, it's when is enough
James
enough?
Franklin
And
was a
that's
couple series away from going to a national championship a year
right.
ago.
And so, coach, I guess for you, for a guy that's dealt with this, like what's
that's the
good
way
enough?
we were. I
And what do
mean,
you have to do?
at the end of the day, I don't say this. I still won 73% of my games, 80% of my bowl games.
Right.
I mean, and won a national championship. I
What
mean,
are we doing?
and I don't, but it is what it is, and it's all about what have you done. I'm not as a head coach, you're responsible for what happens. I mean, you are for what happens and what happens here, and I think you're getting so many different people now into this. So, like, it goes back to what I said that have no patience. I want it now. 1 year, 2 years of downness, because even James had a couple down years. Look at Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah.
Harbaugh had some really losing years, and he figured it back, and he won, and he lost, and he figured it back out. There's no time to figure it back out. It's 1 year, 2 years, and you're done. Or if you're not where you want to be, because it gets into, I'm paying all this money. Money changes everything, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As much as it helps, money does not bring you happiness. It brings you comfort, but it does not bring you happiness.
Right.
Okay? And these people who have it have no patience.
Yeah.
And when they're dictating it and giving it in, and the old days of, like I said, there'd be no Bobby Bowden today. There'd be no Joe
Right.
Paterno. Like Bobby Bowden, there was a stretch. I'll give you this. I know him very well. You know, it was like a family. I was like my dad. I mean, to a point. I mean, they took care of me. All right, he built Florida State in 79, 80, went back-to-back Orange Bowls, got lost, but they were fourth in the country, third in the country. Then from 80 to 86, and 80 he didn't get to 6-5. And the best he was from 80 to 86 was 9-3.
Wow.
And he never beat Florida once, and he beat Miami, I think, only once. And then in 87, he has that 14-year run. They're in the top 5 for 14 straight years. He plays for 5 national championships. He wins 2, and they become the Florida State that we all know.
Right.
But you know what? He wouldn't have been here.
Right.
He wouldn't
Dabo
have been
Swinney,
here.
very similar. Dabo, same
I'm-
way. Dabo,
Huh?
same way.
Dabo say Joe Paterno had a couple the year before in '84. They had a losing record in 1984, won it in '82. Think about this: Penn State won it in '82, had a losing record in '84, won it in '86. Okay, I mean those guys wouldn't have been able to stay
Right.
in the coaching world. You know what I mean? Of what
Yeah.
we're having right here, and I think it's an unbelievable time. It's a hectic time, but you've got to get some regulation, and the more unregulated, the more people don't have any. They don't know the answers, so we don't. Like the unknown's what we're scared of as human beings. I always say this: the most scary thing in the world is the unknown. If you know something, even if it's bad, you create a plan for it, or you expect it, or whatever. And there's so much unknowns to the AD, to the president, to these boosters, that they're just trying to. It's ready, shoot, aim instead of ready, aim, shoot.
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Well, that's how NIL came about. Governor
Sure.
Newsom made it. He
Yeah.
made it for California. Well, we're going to because he was doing it for a political reason
Right.
to help the state. And then all these other states said, wait a minute, all these players are going to go to California and go play for these schools, which is true because they can go make millions of dollars. So we got to do something. So that's why every state, think about this, NIL, we were NIL, and every state had a different rule.
Yeah.
What
Still
you could
do.
do as a coach.
Still do. Yeah.
I mean, think about it. So it wasn't ready, aim, shoot. It was ready, shoot, aim. They're trying to, you don't put the genie back in the bottle once it's out. And I think that's where we're getting into, Eric, that makes it so chaotic. And again, who's in charge?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Deep in
you've had
pockets.
commissioners. Think about this. You've had 2 commissioners and 4 commissioners try to meet, and 2 say, we're meeting, 2 say we ain't meeting
Right.
to try to fix the problem. You know what I mean? We're going to meet on our terms. You're going to meet on your I mean, I get what they're doing. I'm not saying they're wrong, but who's in charge?
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody got to be in charge.
Coach, I want to get into just because these buyouts are just wild. I was joking with my wife. I was like, man, I should have just gotten into coaching when I was out of the NFL instead of media and worked my way up and just, gotten fired and live on a big ranch. But anyways, like it's, I think people are like, man, these buyouts are crazy, crazy, crazy. What goes into it? Because obviously the belief for me is
you've
the
achieved
NFL,
something that people want. It's like
Yeah,
anything in the world. What something's worth is what somebody's willing
Well,
to
that's
pay
what I was
for.
going to say. Like to me, the NFL, it's about the quarterback. College sports, especially in the transfer portal, it's about the coach. The coach is the face of the program. They're the most important person. They're the one that people are donating money to help build new buildings on campus, new facilities. They're the ones, like they are the face of the program. Nick Saban, Alabama, everything that he did at Tuscaloosa, Kirby Smart, and what he's done in Georgia. Like I get it's deserved. What goes into that negotiation though to make sure that you're covered on the back
Well,
end?
if somebody's like you, somebody tries to get you right now, say you're making $300,000 doing this podcast. I'm not saying that, just throwing a number out here.
That'd be
Kind of a
nice.
low
All right,
ball, coach.
somebody
All right,
wants
it's
you
a
to
little
go.
higher than
Somebody
that.
wants you to go do a podcast for them, or for you to move. It's going to have to be something significant for you to uproot what you're doing and the success you've had to move somewhere else. That's how you think player salaries have went there.
Yep.
in the NBA, in the NFL, and it's no different than a business. It's like a CEO. We want the CEO of, Dell wants the CEO for Microsoft. They want to switch. I'm making $100 million here. I want him what he's doing. He's doing a good job. So what do I got to pay him to get him? It
Right.
just becomes that simple. And those circumstances, and you've built up credibility, you built up history, you've won national championships, you've won different things. You know what I'm saying? Just like in mine, it's good go for mine. We started in 18, had a 9-4 year, went to play, won. Went to both, step back a little bit the next year, but we lost a lot of critical linemen, built the line back up. We were fourth in the, should have been the playoff. We were second best team in the country in 2020. And they put Clemson had lost. Anyway, we got fifth. We ended up fourth, won the Orange Bowl, all that. Well, then for 3 years, we play with a backup quarterback and we get some injuries. But as a coach, it doesn't matter. You're still responsible for that. You know what I'm saying? You have this, yeah. And then the patience to stay there. Once you build up, I built up credibility at Florida State. We won 80% of our games, won a national championship. Somebody wanted that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's like here. Somebody wanted Brian Kelly. Somebody wants Mark Rick. Somebody wants Dabo. Somebody wants, and then those salaries just keep. What do I? Because somebody's coming after them. What do I got to do to keep them? You know what I mean? It's going to be this trend here. Wait till you see these contracts.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, but here's the difference. The old days when Bobby Bowden was under that contract, because it was less money, we'd tolerate these 5 years.
Yeah.
Joe, we'll tolerate that losing season. You know what I mean? Now they don't do that. They don't let you work through, because I don't care in any business, no business. I don't care what corporation you're talking about. You see it all the time. Apple stock dropped. Didn't somebody's stock drop? Well, that's like going 5-5.
Right.
But they didn't get five. I mean, now if it happens for a 5-year period, they do, and then they build it back up. Coaches, back in the old days, you could have those 9-3 years, 8-3 years, 7-4 years to build it back up. You know what I mean? Now we don't have tolerance because, well, we're paying you that much, it shouldn't happen.
Right.
Listen, but here's the thing that I think people need to understand. Just because you put money in it, the game didn't change. See, that's the beauty of this game of football. Like what you were talking about, offensively, defensively. You know what wins? Alignment, assignment, technique.
That's right.
I know how to line up. I know what my assignment is. I know how to do it, and I do it at a very physical, nasty level. And I can run the football. I can stop the run. I can block on third down. I can protect the quarter. At the end of the day, the reasons for winning in football haven't changed. They haven't changed here, except our patience has.
Right.
We don't work through those times, and we try to give those contracts to give security to the guy. If I'm coming there and I'm changing, I need security. Well, give me a big buyout so I can't leave. That's fine. It works both ways. But what we've lost is patience. What we've lost is we think the game has changed, and it hasn't.
Yeah.
The reasons you win in football right now are the same reasons you won when you played, and they really won. Now, the styles are a little different, but the base fundamentals of the game haven't. Business hasn't changed.
Right.
How you do business. And I think that's where we've made mistakes, and we got so impatient in these contracts that we're not getting what we want, and I put this money in, but the game ain't changing. It hadn't changed. That's why this game is such a great game.
Yeah.
I mean, the style of it, the knowledge of it, how we've thrown the ball better, but still, it's a game of toughness. It's a game of leverage. It's a game of angles. It's a game of how many times in a row can I do so? And then you get somebody, and then you get these great players. He's a great player. Why don't you coach? All right, he can do it 3 times. Well, can he do it 73? A game's 73 plays or 83 plays. You know, that was Jerry Rice's great. What did Jerry Rice say?
Yeah.
I run 4.5. How many guys been faster than me as a wideout? You can name thousands.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna run 4.5 for 80 plays.
Yeah.
Those 5 plays, you take a break, I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah.
As you know, and as a quarterback, you used to say the guys played bad. Dan Marino got the ball at the end of the game. Joe Montana got the ball at the game. Tom Brady got it. Peyton Manning got it. They could play bad as they want. They get the ball in the last 2 minutes. What they do?
Yeah.
Beat your ass.
Yeah. They win.
I mean, the mental toughness, all the things about football we love haven't changed. It's just the peripherals changed, and our patience has changed.
Right.
And we don't let ourselves work through these situations, because at the end of the day, Brian Kelly, he didn't win. But he's still 34-14. James Franklin, all right, he had a losing year in 20 or 19. He went 7-6. Now he was 1 game from playing for a championship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he goes 3-3. He loses in overtime.
Yeah. Right.
And then it snowballs on him a little bit. But
Of course.
understand something. And there's always people in that building that want somebody else.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because
no matter
everybody
how
wants
good
somebody's
you are,
job,
no matter how
or
well
it
you
gives them
treat
power.
people.
Because if they
Right.
can bring in their buddy, or an
Right.
administrator gets somebody else, they become in power. They get the money. All the money has changed, because now that creates for other people to have power.
Yeah.
And to have influence. And at the end of the day, I hate to say it's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's why you're seeing the changes. If that's about about as simple as I can explain. I'm probably getting too complex, but it's simple, but it's complex in the same
I
time.
think people appreciate it, and just to hear it again from your very unique perspective of this.
We did, and all those coaches that got fired, they didn't forget how to coach.
Exactly, and they'll be
It's
fine.
like you have a bad year
if
as
they
a
wanna
player.
land on
You
their
see
feet.
players all the time. Guy won the MVP, then he gets hurt, he gets banged up. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes.
Right.
And then 2 years later, he's back being the MVP again. They didn't forget how to play.
Exactly. So, Coach, and we'll kind of be quicker here. We're super grateful for your time. We mentioned Florida, we mentioned LSU, we mentioned Penn State.
Oh, I love it.
And I know you have some inside info, so don't get yourself in trouble. But those 3 spots, who would you lean lands those? Come December, do we see a team? Do we see a coach leave a playoff team to go coach LSU?
Well, that's the other. See, the playoff has changed a big wrinkle in this because it happens because it goes into the portal. It's going harder to get guys. I don't know.
Yeah.
And everybody says, always ask me, which one's the best job?
Right.
I think the best job is in the eye of the beholder.
Exactly.
I don't think there are any. And there are just certain teams. We know certain teams are going to win and they got resources, but it becomes the eye of the beholder who the best job is.
Right.
Who you and what territory do you know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Does that guy know the landmines at that school? Does he know those situations? And we're proving right now that between Vanderbilt and Indiana, it doesn't always have to be the Ohio States or Alabamas of the world. I'm just using them for an example. You know what I'm saying? And the eye of the beholder, I think that's where the best job is. And who gets those jobs? Who's willing to? And then here's what you're forgetting. All right, the place they're at having success, what are they going to do to keep him?
Yeah.
See, because like it used to be 20 years ago, 25 years ago, you tried to get to those elite 15 schools because of the resources being so much greater, history being greater, all that. I don't know if that's as important today as it was back then.
I
because
totally
of how
agree
this
with
thing
that.
is going.
Totally agree.
And so I think that's what's making, again, the unknown. Well, he should go. Well, does he leave a playoff team? Does he not leave a playoff team? Is that job really a better job? I just went to the playoffs here. Why can't I do it again?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a whole different world than it ever was, in my opinion, right now.
No, it's. I mean, I think Lane's going to be that perfect example because he is going to be most likely in the playoffs this year. And does that affect a team wanting to go after him because he may not be there for certain recruiting responsibilities? Because
I don't think it'll change a guy going after him, but I do think it's going to change how they go after him and what they do, and then it's going to make him have to make a really, really tough decision.
Because, I mean, we look at the examples, Coach, of when maybe a guy accepts a job, but then maybe he stays for the bowl game or look at Mark Richt in Georgia. They got their ass whipped when he decided to go to Georgia and they were playing and preparing for a national championship.
Yep.
It's hard. It's hard.
Well, look here. I'll give you a great example. Luke Fickell, did he have the Notre Dame job?
Yeah.
And didn't go and stayed at Cincinnati to go through the playoff.
Right.
Now he's at Wisconsin and is in trouble.
People screaming. Yeah, I know.
Screaming. I mean, so you weigh. People don't. I always say this. People hit on coaches about decisions they make, and people change jobs for $15,000-$20,000 daily.
Exactly.
Which is, I get. Listen. I grew up that. I mean, I grew up. My mom was a school teacher. My daddy was a coal miner and a farmer. I mean, we grew up, and that was $10,000 is a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have. I mean, we had, but we didn't. And I don't judge people that, but I mean, it's amazing for what you change and make decisions based off of. And you know, it makes them, I always say this, it's not about money. I know that sounds crazy coming from me, but I never made a decision based off money.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Lane hit that the other day too, which I mean, listen, he's going to get paid a boatload of money, whether that's at Ole Miss, Florida, LSU, or wherever he may be. So, well, Coach, man, we appreciate you joining us. Love the insight. EMAC's been talking about how good you guys have been working together at the ACC Network.
It's been fun.
Yeah. So, well, good luck. No matter if you're back on TV or maybe in one of these jobs here in the near future. But once again, we appreciate.
I know. I may stay right here and hunt all day.
That's not a bad spot. Not a bad spot.
Okay.